Yes, here we go at the start of a brand new week. Yes, sirree. Good morning to you, Grenada, and the rest of the world. It's a pretty bright Monday morning here on the Spice Isle. Still living yesterday. And I thank you all for joining us this morning. Yeah, there they go. Hazel, Fitzroy, Osmond, hey. Good to see you guys, and here comes Mansurat Alexander as well. Good to see you guys this morning. Well, my dear friends, we begin a brand new week here on the Spice Isle, and I certainly hope that you had a fabulous, fabulous weekend. Did you go to Carols by Candlelight? Yeah, I didn't see the fireworks live, and although I have a pretty good view from where I am here, I was preoccupied doing some other things. But from what I've seen on Facebook this morning, it was a great show. Eh? Only heard from a few people on Facebook, but seemed to have been pretty good. So glad you enjoyed it. Now let's settle down to serving this beautiful little country of ours, doing the best we can. And part of that involves watching this program this morning. We're going to begin by asking this question. You've probably seen that already on Facebook. Which government would you rather work for? The St. Kitts government or Grenada? Why is he asking that question to begin a new week here? After all, man, come on. Our country is booming, so our country's economy is booming. So you've got pretty good reasons to want to work for the government of Grenada. Well, not so fast, not so fast. You'll find out in just a wee bit what this is all about. Then, as many of you know, come Friday, Election Day in Dominica, December 6th, yes sirree. And over the weekend I received a little piece in which, I'm going to share that with you, in which you'll hear an actual electoral observer, somebody who has observed elections in Dominica before. He talks about how he feels about what's happening up there, or not happening, I should say, which is the reformation of the electoral process. So that's coming your way. This observer speaks out on the Dominica elections, and I'm going to share that with you, because I know that a lot of you people have been curious about what's happening in Dominica, because it could possibly impact us and the other, some of the other islands in the Caribbean. We do have the national report for you this morning, and then, Monday morning, yes, your three girlfriends are going to be on. They may be joined by a fourth, I'm not sure, but Fiscal alert comes your way this morning at about 25 minutes to 10 o'clock. Okay, these ladies join us every Monday morning, and based on the feedback that I've been seeing there in social media, you folks really enjoy what these ladies have to say, because they're providing you with a lot of information which hitherto has not been forthcoming here in the Spice Isle. So stand by. They'll be with you in about half an hour. Now, Friday, December, no, we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about the elections yet. The first thing we're going to talk about is which government would you rather work for? Okay. The Dr. Timothy Harris-led government of St. Kitts and Nevis will pay out the much anticipated bonus salary, or double salary, on Friday, December 13th. That's a week from this coming Friday, marking an unprecedented fourth consecutive year that the Team Unity administration will be making such a payment. The double salary will apply to all employees of the federal government and statutory corporations. Let me quote here. The federal government, in keeping with tradition, will also make gratuitous payments available to the employees of the Nevis Island Administration. That has been the pattern over the last 4 to 5 years of this administration. So says Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, during the Thursday, November 28th sitting of the National Assembly. He made those comments under the section Statements by Ministers on the order paper. Additionally, the Prime Minister announced that the beneficiaries of the popular Poverty Alleviation Program, or PAP, will also be paid on Friday, December 13th. Here's a quote. The 1,000 plus government auxiliary employees who were denied their customary honorarium since 2012 by the former regime, they will be paid again by Team Unity on December 13th. That is good news for the GAE. That's the Government Auxiliary Employees. So says Dr. Harris. Friday, December 13th will also be a good day for workers under the Skills Training Empowerment Program, STEP, in St. Kitts and Nevis, as they too will be paid on that day. In other words, over 10,000 persons come December 13th will have a lot of money, to put it in simple terms, thanks to the Team Unity government, says the Prime Minister, while also encouraging persons to spend wisely throughout the Christmas and Carnival seasons. Friday, December 13th is also the first of the 2 discounted VAT rate days in St. Kitts and Nevis. The second date is Saturday, December 21st. The 2 discounted VAT rate days will allow all VAT registered businesses to charge VAT at the rate of 5% on the sale of goods only. All tangible items that are presently subject to the 17% VAT will qualify for the discounted VAT rate. Boy, I could imagine the folks in St. Kitts Nevis are probably dancing and going to be dancing from now until December 13th. Can you believe that? Yeah. So, would you like to work with that government? I mean, come on, our economy is just booming like you wouldn't believe. While this morning I received, today there's a sitting of the Senate, should be getting started at about now. I received an email from the Clerk of Parliament that when Parliament sits today, not only are they going to be discussing the budget, but there is also a request for authorization to borrow $100 million to take care of the 2020 budget. You heard me. $100 million. More debt. More debt. In our booming economy. Okay, folks. Okay. Before I move on to the other piece here, just let me say good morning to you guys out here. Bernard Gilbert is there. Sajeev Singh, don't think I've seen him. Sajeev is asking, why so much corruption in your country? I don't know. I wish I had the answer. I was hoping you'd be able to tell us why so much corruption. I don't know. Because we allow it to happen. Anthea was saying, good morning, all. Chester Simon's there, Kipling Francis. Sajeev says, you are doing good work, people. People all around the world appreciate your work, sir. Well, thank you very much, Sajeev. I'm trying the best I can. Ain't easy. Arthur Langine saying good morning to everybody around the world. Joan Wellington saying good morning, sending her blessings. John Franco is there. Good morning to you as well, Ryan Jaban. Sajeev is asking, do you read comments? Yes, I read comments. I just read your comments, Sajeev. Nice to see you. I think he's new to this platform. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. He says, talk about ambassador scam and economic citizenship scam. Well, yesterday, I'm sorry you were not with us yesterday, Sajeev, but we did speak a lot about both of those. Both of those we did talk a lot about yesterday. And since you weren't here, you don't have to miss it. You go to the Grenada Broad. Actually, I see that you're on Facebook right now. The program is right there. You can listen to it in its entirety. There's a conversation which went for about 2 hours on that particular issue. Let's see here. Why Caribbean countries are safe haven for scammers and fraudsters? Again, I'm telling you, I can't answer that question. That's Sajeev again. Margaret is saying, good day, guys. Good to see you, Mags. And Benedict saying, good morning. Nicole Gittins, Kishinama. I remembered Nicole Kishinama, right? She's saying, bonjour. Well, bonjour to you too. Comment ça va? That's the extent of my French, okay? Floyd Nichols is saying $100 million. Don't know if I should laugh or cry. Yes, sir. Sajeev says, yes, I'm new, sir. I watched your Al Jazeera video, and a lot of persons around the world want to help you so that you can expose others. Boy, Sajeev, I sure hope you mean that, because we need a lot of help here. We really do need a lot of help. A lot of people are all gung-ho and pumped up about that Al Jazeera documentary. Al Jazeera has moolah to do stuff like that. We don't. But with the little bit that we have, yaman, we're trying. Kipling Francis says, it's so enlightening to know that the PM is not so sure of his own budget, so he's already preparing for its failure. Okay, that's your interpretation, Kippy. All right, folks, that's it. Now, let's get down to the next item. 4 days to go before the Friday elections in Dominica. And we're about to hear from an actual election observer who has monitored previous elections in Dominica. As you listen to this, as you watch this, you'll see that he doesn't sound like a happy camper. Check this out from a news outfit in St. Lucia.
While elections in Dominica are nearly a week away, the cries for electoral reform appear to be falling on deaf ears. A report which was submitted in August of this year following a joint mission by the OAS, CARICOM and Commonwealth highlighted an urgent need for reform and provided specific recommendations, none of which have been implemented. In our continuing coverage of the unfolding contention, we spoke to one electoral observer who has participated in multiple missions to Dominica and was part of the process which provided several recommendations.
Without input in politics, I believe the Prime Minister of Dominica needs to take a better approach. I do not think it, I mean, I've been observing, I've been watching his approach to the whole thing. I think it's unbecoming. I believe if the Dominican authorities had implemented the recommendations sent to them by the OAS, what is happening in Dominica now probably would not have happened. I believe it is unfair to be in a democracy and there is no democracy.
One of the primary concerns highlighted in the report from the Joint Mission was issues relating to voting by Dominicans living overseas.
You have persons who live abroad who have not contributed any way at all to the socio-economic development of Dominica within the electoral cycle, which is the last 5 years. All right? But here it is on election day. They are planed into Dominica, all right, come and put the cross, and the first opportunity they get, they leave until the next elections. That means they are literally coming into Dominica, impose a government on the people who are striving in Dominica, okay? And they don't care whether the government feel or the government as well. So I believe it is not fair to have, whilst, yes, it is their country, but in order to be entitled to vote in your country, you need to have been there at least, like we have in St. Lucia, at least 6 months within, that electoral cycle.
After the 2014 elections, the opposition alleged that Dominicans living overseas had been bribed to vote through the purchase of return airfare to Dominica. Under Dominica's Registration of Electors Act, it states that a registered voter may be deleted from the register if they are absent from Dominica for a period exceeding 5 years. However, there is some contention over the interpretation of this, as the law refers to absence and not residence. It could therefore be interpreted that someone has not been absent for 5 years if, for example, they have returned to the island once every 4 years. The report from the OAS, CARICOM and Commonwealth after the 2014 elections suggested that existing legislation would therefore qualify the majority of Dominicans living overseas to return home to vote. The report further stated that there were individuals who had been out of the country long enough to be disqualified but did actually return to vote, either of their own accord or through financial inducement from political parties. As a result, the report highly recommended that the matter become the subject of national discussion in order to have the electoral legislation reviewed. Another serious concern after the 2014 elections, which has still not yet been resolved, was the need to improve the system of identification of voters.
You see, what they have now, it gives people the liberty to do many things. The voter ID they have now, that could be duplicated over and over and over and over again. And like I said, it is something, in the 21st century, that needs to change. With multiple voter IDs, this here is a voting station. All right, I've gone there, I've done my voting. Whilst the little ink on the finger, that could be removed very, very easily. There are things one could do prior to voting that when you dip your finger in the ink, a minute later you could get the ink out. All right? What guarantees do you have? Because it's not electronic. That 100 yards from here, there's another polling station that this person cannot just go clean his or her finger and find themselves there. How would the authorities at that station know that this person has just voted? All right? So, these are the things that they need to understand. It's not because there is a polling station that somebody or the people there will know persons have voted. You have no controls over that when you do not have the proper documentation.
There have been at least 2 failed attempts to review the legislation which would address the concerns over proper identification and voting by persons residing overseas. Elections in Dominica are scheduled for December 6, 2019, although they were not constitutionally due until March 2020. With the days until elections quickly ticking by, it seems very likely that this election will be riddled with the same issues witnessed in the 2014 elections. For Choice News Now, Amani Mathur reporting.
Okay, there you have it. See, tough times ahead for the island of Dominica. And just remember that even right here in Grenada, we have simply not complied with a request made to reform our very own electoral process. Okay? Now, let me get back here to social media for just a minute. Kipling says, it is so enlightening to know that the PM is not sure of his own budget, so he's already preparing for its failure. Yeah, I tell you, when I saw this thing this morning, it floored me. A request for $100 million? Wasn't it just a couple of months ago We requested authorization for another, I don't remember the exact figure, but a whole lot of money as well. Phew. Grenada, Grenada, Grenada. John Franco says maybe they will feel guilty about the passport money and loan the government money for the budget. You got a sense of humor, John. Sajeev says, yes, sir. Create a PayPal account. We all will help in all possible ways so you can expose others. Sajeev, my dear friend, you're obviously very new to this platform. Let me tell you something. I think September was a year since we created that PayPal platform. If you go to my website, GRENADABROADCAST.com, Grenada Broadcast is one word. You look at the top menu, you will see a button which says donate. Okay? Check it out. Check it out. It's there. Over a year. Sajeev, a handful of people have contributed. And over that period of time, there are 2 people who have done so on a regular basis. 2 persons. Yes, sirree. So, yes, we do have a PayPal. But for whatever reason, only a very minuscule number of people who watch this platform have ever chimed in. And I don't make a habit of going on the air and say, gimme, gimme, gimme. I don't want to be like our government. No, no, no. It's there. If you believe that you can help, please do, whoever you are. Okay, let's see here now. John says, good morning, everyone. It's tipping down here at the moment. I guess he means it's raining, like cats and dogs. Ernesto says, good morning, Gigi and families. Yesterday on my way to New Jersey, happened to listen to a radio station from the north. And Gigi, that was the most filth and cabbages I ever heard coming from a media outlet in Grenada. It was the bashing of A.B., Alan, got bashed, Godfrey, and others, with a total denial that people, including Al Jazeera, are trying to bring down Dr. Mitchell, and worst of all, the calls were no different with some of the filth they contributed. Now I understand why some people remain the way they are in Grenada. Oh, yes, sirree. I'm so totally used to that, Ernesto. John says, I saw somewhere that illegal action is in the progress to delay the election on Dominica, to clean up the voting list. Boy, wouldn't that be great? I sure hope that happens. Hello, Sharon. Good morning, she says to the family. Good to see you, my girl. Hope you're feeling okay. Looking forward to Wednesday when she'll be right back here with us. Sajeev says, do not worry, sir. Mauritius people will help in all possible ways. Well, boy, that's news. That's music to the ears of the people on this platform. Because, you know, while we try the best we can with the little that we have, there are people who always want a lot more, and I want to give a lot more. There's so much more that we could do. But unfortunately, we just make the best of what we have. Margaret Francis says, yeah, John, but not sure that anything will happen before the elections. Okay. That's about the electoral reform in Dominica. Sharon says, it will not happen. Oh, Sharon, couldn't you be a little bit more optimistic? Aline Buddy Hotsford is saying good morning. And Shadi Sajeev says, I have to get used to the name. He says, yes, I do, sir. Okay. Pilgrims, quick break, and then we'll come back with Friday's National Report.
Why wish upon a star? For a bank is better by far. Whatever you're wishing for this Christmas, we'll give you low interest and no fuss.
Co-op Bank is making Christmas wishes come true. Fix up your home, treat your loved ones, and get everything on your Christmas list this year with our no-fuss loans. As we count down the 12 days to Christmas, you can win awesome prizes every day. Special terms and conditions apply.
Christmas wishes come true with Co-op Bank and you.
Welcome home.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Because your vehicle is a necessity, being roadworthy is critical. Hubbard's Motor Department introduces its new tire and battery sales and service outlet located at Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, close to the Sugar Mill Roundabout. Available are a wide range of competitively priced tires, maintenance-free batteries, oils and lubricants. Keeping in mind your busy schedule, this outlet is equipped to provide you with fast and reliable service. Simply drive in and you'll be delighted with your service experience. For more information, contact 440-2087. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
Christmas safety tips. Always unplug Christmas tree lights before leaving home or going to sleep. Check your tree lights and outdoor lights for damage each year before you use them. Discard lights with frayed wires, loose connections, and cracked sockets. Do not overload your wall outlets or extension cords. Remind children never to touch lights or outlets. Select lights appropriately. Never use indoor lights outside or vice versa. Happy holidays from Grenlec.
Yes, okay. Turn on your microphone, George. It helps. Let me repeat what I had just said. To the Fiscal Alert team, we're going to be a couple of minutes late getting to you this morning because I still have the national report to come. It's coming up on 9:30. So we're going to be a little bit late. But I also want to pay attention to some of the comments that were posted here on social media. Margaret says, yeah, folks, good journalism and programming costs. Every little bit helps. No amount is too small. If you like the programs, please add Grenada Broadcast to your Christmas gift list. This is the season for giving. Please and thanks. And what I was about to say a few minutes ago is that Margaret should know. Margaret's the person who really helped me, really helped me to set up that donate button on with PayPal. And boy, let me tell you, she's been with us. The folks who are on the platform right now could tell you this lady has been with us every step of the way, and we really do appreciate the work that she has done. Kipling Francis says, listening to some callers on an early morning program sadly reminds me of Jim Jones. So much blind loyalty. Sad. Sajeev says, but nowadays, every ruling party controls media houses, and they create positive things around them. But only few people like you make people aware about real news. He goes on to say, like India and China also doing too much things in the Caribbean, Caribbean countries. Okay, yes, folks, we did resolve that audio problem. John says, Sajeev, in that case, you cannot miss the next Al Jazeera video covering Mr. Mahdi of India. Okay. Benedict Kador is chiming in there as well. Sajeev says, Sajeev, Qatar hate India because of Iran and rising power of India. When it comes to India, all Al Jazeera do not do good things. They just support left wing. Ernesto says, when you have 14 seats, you can go to Parliament and get whatever you want. Okay, folks, here comes the national report. And once again, fiscal alert, hang in there. This piece runs about 15 minutes, but we're going to get to you shortly.
Ministry of Housing commits to assisting families displaced by fire in Grenville. We'll have details to this story and more in the national report. With the details to the news for Friday, November 29th, 2019, I am Rakisha St. Louis. The Ministry of Social Development, Housing and Community Empowerment has committed to assisting families affected by a recent fire in Grenville to rebuild their lives. Monday's fire displaced more than 20 people, many of them children. We get more in this report from Annette Moore.
Wayne James, Senior Housing Officer in the Ministry of Social Development, Housing and Community Empowerment, empathized with the affected residents on behalf of his ministry and explained what the direct efforts will be to assist. He visited the day following the fire to begin his assessment and speak with the residents, returning the following day to continue his efforts.
The Ministry of Social Development and Housing, and also our minister, is committed in trying to rebuild this family's life as quickly as possible. We have a brigade out there, building brigade, doing the carpentry work.
James says that the family with 20 members per household is being advised to rebuild separate homes per household once possible to ensure the future health and safety of the family.
We want to assure them that they are not by themselves alone, but our ministry is behind them to give them the psychosocial support, the building support, and whatever assistance we're capable of doing, we are on board with them.
He said their ministry will collaborate with the other government ministries to ensure that adequate assistance is provided in all necessary areas. Julia Penny George, Jamal Alexis, Kelvin George, and Alston George all gave their versions of how the fire on Salisbury Road started and progressed, bringing out an entire community to witness a scene of terror, loss, and confusion. The fire began in the home of Brenda George. Kelvin George, a resident of that home, caught sight of the fire on his way back home. He told us of the experience.
Well, I come home, just about to come and cook. One of my cousins come running down the road, tell me about, oh Kelvin, oh God, your house on fire. I left with extra speed to run home, come home. Because all my belongings, all my valuables, is like everything was situated here. And there was nothing I could do because the whole place was a blaze of fire.
Jamal Alexis, whose home is situated behind both of the homes destroyed by the fire, sustaining damages to the sides, roof, and electrical wires, explained what he witnessed.
I was sitting on my bed doing some assessment, and I heard my mother calling out and saying that there was a fire underneath my cousin's house. So immediately we rushed out of the house, not securing anything, rushing out of the house to see what is happening. So we indicated to our cousin she would come from the house while everybody is rushing towards the house to help her in the situation. And there was just a blaze of fire coming from underneath the house, which spread rapidly throughout all the other houses within the vicinity that we live in.
Anthony Jacasal, a nearby resident, parts of whose home was scorched by the fire, shared his experience.
Well, I was lying on this chair, and I usually close my shop around 10 o'clock. And just before 10, my brother run and come and call me and tell me Brenda house on fire. When I went down in the back and I saw the extent of the fire, I started wetting it, and it just keeps spreading. You know, a cylinder explode, and the fire truck came. They say it came from St. David's.
Jacasal noted that there were several issues which hindered the operation of the firefighters, so in the meantime they continued their efforts.
We keep on wetting the houses, and then a second truck arrived and, you know, get the fire under control. My grandmother, who is 99 years old, had to be, she got a lift, somebody raised her and bring her up the road by a neighbor. It's a cousin of mine, his name Randy, and that's his livelihood. He rear rabbits, and he lost a few in the fire. Out of 30-something rabbits, he maybe remained with about 5.
Julia George, owner of the home that housed the 20 family members, who comprise a few households, lost her home and all their possessions. There was no time to salvage anything but their lives. George describes how that fateful night unfolded.
I came from work about after 7 Monday night. When I came, my granddaughter, children, everybody was home. I went to the room, my granddaughter was on the bed sleeping, so I said, good, I will take an early rest, which I went to take a shower, came back, have something to eat, and went to my bed. In my sleep, I heard a voice. So I opened up my eyes, and I listened. Then I heard the voice, Brenda, Brenda, your house on fire. So when I heard that now, I pushed open my window. But when I pushed open my window, I saw Brenda's house was going up in flames. So at the same time now, I wake up the children and I say, I'll get up and run outside, everybody out, which they did. So I come back inside, trying to see if I could throw water on Brenda's house. But like, the fire was so strong. So I went back inside my room, and the only thing I grabbed is my bag and my daughter's bag. I ran outside. The kids almost came bawling outside. So I tried to go around in the back, trying to see if I could help throw water on Brenda's house, but it was a waste of time.
George says she was hopeful that her house would have been saved. Thanks to the swift actions of family members, all residents escaped unhurt. Family members also noted the possible impact on the many young children affected. The children range in ages from 1 year old to 16 years old.
Well, there is too numerous to mention in terms of how many children, but what I can say is that, of course, in the psyche of any child to witness something of this magnitude, it would affect them psychologically throughout.
Residents expressed their feelings and concerns in the aftermath of the fire, looking at their losses and what they now need to rebuild and replace.
It was a very terrifying experience, and I tried my best to save my house.
It's very difficult here for me. I could have started a little thing yet still. With the little of which I bought and stuff was a big impression of plans here to do, to help myself. But it seemed like everything got on the drain, and
even if I was in a deep sleep, I could have lost my children, my niece, my nephew. It's hard for me and my family. Okay, every time I come up here to see the house, I'm in tears. It's very hard, but we're coping. Because we have the strength of God. So, things will work out for us in the future. As old people ever saying, everything takes time, so me hanging on. I know it's hurtful, it's painful. Because first time we go through that.
Alexis and Julia George are appreciative of the assistance extended by government and the community thus far.
The good thing is that we had a lot of community spirit and a lot of community togetherness. So a lot of the persons who were affected were able to move to different places within the community for shelter, where they are currently based, and other family members would have, of course, did their part. Persons within the community space has been helping to rewire the houses and so on. Grenada has pledged their support in coming to restore the electricity.
The people came around and agreed to offer assistance with material, and I have to go and get a fire report up at Paul's, and then they'll take it from there.
I appreciate the government's response fast, and all those who helped me, who've been there for me and my family up to now, I thank God for them. I appreciate everything everybody do for me.
To the general public who has helped thus far, we want to say thank you for your support. Thank you to the ministers of government. Thank you for your quick response to the fire department, the police, and everyone that has helped thus far. We really appreciate it, and we look forward for your continued support as we rebuild stronger and better for a safer community, so to speak.
Affected residents shared ways in which the public can provide immediate assistance while investigations are being completed and provisions made for their rehousing. Julia George says her family's immediate needs include food, clothing, shoes, and school items for the children to properly resume school, although they have already begun returning. She provided some contact information for those wishing to reach out to her family.
My number is 537-2439, or you can reach Alicia at 403-8997, Magdalene at 459-4629, Miranda 416-3167, Janelle 419-4410. You can contact any one of these numbers, you can reach any one of us.
4 days now I don't sleep and stuff and tell that. You know what? You know, like to say, well, anybody invite me to come and say, well, rest up this till until, well, you know, it's like, it's hard to explain, but it's me on my own, you know.
Julia George says cleanup efforts will begin Sunday, December 1st. For the National Report, I'm Annette Moore.
Thank you, Annette. Government continues to invest in ICT and innovation as the demand for technology grows locally and internationally. The second annual IEFA Expo was launched on Friday. The expo is organized by the Ministry of Infrastructural Development, the Grenada Trade Center, in collaboration with the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, NTRC, and GIZ to showcase Grenada's innovation to the world. The expo focuses on innovation, energy, finance, arts, and automotive. This year, more than 45 businesses have registered for the 3-day event. Solar, local jewelry and craft, clothing, wines, cakes, pottery, business support services, and so much more are on display at the exposition.
The international market is opening up, and obviously they're looking towards the Caribbean for investment and all sorts of things. So I think something like this is good to sort of like show what we have to offer in Grenada. There's about 45 different organizations here today. Everything from energy saving stuff like solar power, LED, etc. We've actually got a solar building as well, so you can see the fridge, cookers and all those things working. Also arts and crafts as well. But I said finance, a lot of finance as well. So we've got a lot of the credit unions here as well. Like I said, it's just to sort of like get people know in general what's coming out of Grenada at the minute.
Representative on the organizing committee, Fragrance Francique. Exhibitors are grateful for the opportunity to showcase and to promote their ideas not only to the local community but to the world.
Showcase renewables and the potential of renewable energy in the form of PV in this case. I was able to get the assistance of students from the Team Irish Community College who would have put this together within, you could say, 6 hours. A current PV installation class that I'm also teaching. And so the intention was to also showcase for them potential businesses or business idea where solar is concerned.
This expo could really expose people to robotics that would normally not have much exposure. There's people that would know about robotics, but they wouldn't really have an idea that this is something that is done in Grenada that you could get into in Grenada. Like myself, for example, I only realized that once I got into TAMCC, and I only really knew because I was in the computer and electronics departments.
This is the National Report. We'll have more news after the break.
The Grenada Trade Center, in collaboration with the Ministry of Public Utilities, NTRC, and the PURC, presents a mega trade show and educational drive from Friday, November 29th to Sunday, December 1st at the Grenada Trade Center. Bring out the entire family to be informed and educated on financial, ICT, and insurance matters. Also on display will be LED energy-saving products, jewelry, art and craft, and so much more. You can also enjoy fireworks and sweet steel pan music. Mark the date, Grenada, November 29th to December 1st, Grenada Trade Center, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. It's a family affair. Our partners, GUT Credit Union, Antillean Insurance, Flow, Blue Bubbles PA and Rental Services, Nexio, and GIC.
Welcome back. 24H teachers from across the island were involved in a one-day session aimed at promoting leadership skills, facilitated by local sociologist and lecturer Mr. Claude Douglas.
Young members, they are faced with different challenges. So we want to give our leaders an opportunity where they are competent and are able to deal with the different personalities that would come up from time to time. Well, it is our hope that we would continue because we recognize that as leaders we need a refresher from time to time, and we need to be updated with the trends and all this that's happening in our world today. So it is our hope that we would continue those sessions. Today we are focusing mainly on leadership, communication, and so we in the future we want to look at things like time management, professionalism in the workplace. And so as we go along, we would continue to do sessions like that, just to ensure that we have a cadre of leaders competent enough to work with our young people.
That's Mr. Dennis Batiste, acting head of the 4H unit. 4H represents the head, heart, hands, and health, and supports the idea of practical and hands-on learning, advancing the knowledge of agriculture, the environment, human health, and well-being. Claude Douglas, facilitator, says he hopes that the teachers will be able to use the informative session to improve their effectiveness.
I just hope that the 4-H leaders will go back to their respective schools, implement what they would have learned here today so that they can make the clubs more effective.
That story just ended the National Report for today, Friday, November 29th. Let's recap the top story. Ministry of Housing commits to assisting families displaced by fire in Grenville. On behalf of the entire news team here at the Government Information Service, I am Rikisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.
Alec, we're starting work on the house soon, and I'll need your help.
Sure. What do you need?
I got a service application checklist from Grenlec's website.
This looks easy.
It is. We need a new service.
That's option A.
So wherever there's an A, that's something we must do in order to get the service.
So the other things without an A don't apply?
Exactly. The checklist shows us what documents to bring, the fees, and how soon we'll get the service.
So that you realize for all services, we must complete the right application form, have a valid photo ID, and a certificate from the electrical inspector?
That's right. The electrician will help us apply to the ministry for a certificate of inspection. So we'll use the checklist to get everything we need before going to Grenada. This will make the process smooth and save lots of time.
Okay, might as well get started.
Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Can I have a chicken lunch, please? Large.
Real nice today.
I don't want that.
But you just asked for a chicken lunch.
I don't have problem with the lunch. Afraid the container.
What is the problem with it?
These styrofoam containers. They don't good for the environment. They shorten with life.
What foolishness you telling me? So what you want me to use?
Put me food in this. Where you get that? At the food fair, where you could get all biodegradable food boxes and disposable food supplies like cups, plates, anything you could think about. Name it, it's there. And they don't harm the environment. Food fair, taking the lead in cleaning up and protecting the environment. Hey, like you take me advice, you get in your biodegradable food supplies.
Well, girl, I supporting who's supporting the environment. That is why I shop in at food fair.
Food fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets. Products distributed by Hubbard's agency, Kirani James Boulevard.
Alrighty, folks, this is where we say good morning to our friends out there in Fiscal Alert Land. Ladies, first of all, let me apologize. I'm on bended knees, apologizing for getting to you a little bit late this morning, but we had some other business to take care of, and we just ran a little bit over time. Good morning, Laurel. Good morning, Janice. Good morning, Gemma. How are you?
Good morning, George. Good morning.
Doesn't that sound like a chorus? Good morning, George.
Unity.
Absolutely.
How are you, George?
I am doing just fine, coming off a wonderful weekend. I actually got some sleep.
Great. That makes a difference.
It makes a big difference. And I'm very curious about what direction you ladies are going in this morning.
All right. Thank you, George. George, I'm joining you and your audience from Atlanta this morning.
Oh.
Welcome to Fiscal Alert.
That's
an education program.
That's a nice set you have behind
knowledge.
you. I said that's a nice set you have behind you there.
Thank you very, very much, George. Thanks to Dr. Janice Bain. Welcome to Fiscal Alert, the education program where we share knowledge and experience. With me, as you realize, is Mrs. Gemma Bain Thomas and Dr. Janice Bain. And in our last analysis of the budget, we indicated that there will be some implementation challenges. And this implementation deficit, it is hoped, will be achieved in part by strengthening capacity of the public service and by public sector modernization. Mrs. Gemma Bain Thomas has served in the Grenada's public service for 20 years, with 3 years as Secretary to the Cabinet and Head of the Public Sector. She will lead the discussion this morning on public sector modernization. Gemma.
Thank you, Laurel. Good morning, George and listeners of Gudday Grenada. Let me firstly thank Laurel and Juliet for the phenomenal analysis of the 20 budget speech during last Monday's edition of Fiscal Alert. I have received many very positive reviews of their presentation. Today, Fiscal Alert will look at the proposals in the 2020 budget speech under the caption Public Sector Modernization. In that section, it was announced that government would be embarking on digital transformation as part of efforts to modernize the public sector and improve the efficiency and resilience of government services. 3 projects were outlined. 1, the launch of a master governance platform, a whole-of-government portal, and an e-services delivery platform designed to provide a single point of access to all government information, initiatives, projects, and services, significantly stimulating Grenada's transition into an emerging digital economy while creating the opportunity for greater efficiency in the public service. 2, a US $15 million project entitled Digitizing Government Services for the digital transformation enhancement, efficiency, usage, and resilience of select government services via a digital platform. This project will digitize the civil registry or the public records of birth, death, and marriage certificates. The other component of this project, not stated in the budget speech, but obtained from a review of the project document, is the digitization of tax administration services, where citizens can access core tax administration services and the government can perform core tax administrative processes in a digital environment that is accessible online. And thirdly, the continuation of the CASIP project, which is expected to deliver high-speed broadband network to be utilized across ministries and departments and to residents throughout the Tri-Island state. These initiatives, as announced by the government, are all welcomed and necessary. Transformational e-government, or the continuous innovation in the delivery of services, citizen participation, and governance by the use of technology, especially the internet, offers hope and promise to revitalize and modernize public services. Worldwide, the push is towards the use of technology for economic sustainability. So Grenada is on the right path. Project management, however, will be key to the success or failure of these transformational e-government projects. They need to work across ministries, departments, organizations, and jurisdictions to rationalize ideas and implement citizen-focused, transformational, and innovative solutions will be of primary importance. I must, however, point out that with the exception of the US $15 million Digitizing Government Services project, the provisions in the 2020 budget speech are not new. In the 2017 budget speech, it was stated that government was partnering with a major IT company out of India, Multi-Group Relationship Management, or MGRM, to develop and roll out in 2017 a government-wide IT platform. That, in my view, is the same master governance platform to be launched in 2020. In the 2019 budget speech, we were told that government had contracted an Indian-based company, MGRM, to develop a web portal which offers citizens a single point of access to all government services online. That, again, in my view, is the same master governance platform to be launched in 2020. The CASIP project has been ongoing since December 2012. The World Bank rating for Grenada for achievement of the project development objective has been maintained at moderately satisfactory. With a good implementation rate, the project should have been completed by August 2018, but we are now entering 2020 with the same project. So,
Gemma?
Janice?
Yes, in light of what you just said, can you give us some information as to why we have such implementation deficit?
That's a good observation. And I downloaded the World Bank project document on the digitizing of the government services. And I noted it stated in the background information that the public sector in Grenada operates in institutional silos with outdated information and communication technology infrastructure, that the core administrative functions are constrained by the reliance on manual systems, by human resource capacity by limited strategic planning and weak information management. It stated that systems, processes, and service delivery channels were fragmented across agencies, and that the lack of institutional arrangements and foundational digital infrastructure enabling workflow and exchange of information across public sector institutions significantly limited the scope of public services that can be provided electronically to citizens and businesses. So that, in my view, Janice, answers your question.
And so Gemma, though, if we have such an assessment, what is the state of readiness, or how ready is the public service to adopt e-government at this point in time?
Well, from what I have just read from the project document, it can be stated that we are starting off without the institutional structures required to make these projects announced a success. And so your question is very valid, Laurel, whether we are prepared as a public service for transformational e-government. But to answer that question, I want us to reflect on some of the modernization efforts in the last 20 years that had a focus on digitizing the public service and service delivery.
Gemma, before you move on to the those projects, I just wanted to make a couple comments from Facebook. Arthur says, good morning, sisters, from me here in Brooklyn, as always.
Good morning,
I'm very
Arthur.
proud of you ladies. And then John said, John was referencing the high-speed internet, and he says both IT companies are private companies, not Grenadians. India has the biggest IT scamming network in the world. It's a comment from John.
And I guess we have to take John seriously because we have been working with MGRM for maybe over 5 years.
Yes. And also Ryan said, I sadly discovered that the government of Grenada IRD e-tax system portal does not work for my paying of my Grenada residential taxes. Used old-fashioned mailing of a US check. Comment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan, John, and Otto. So I will now go back to the two projects I want to focus on, because as we approach the new millennium, information and communication technology, ICT, was hailed in Grenada as a vital tool in the next phase of Grenada's development. The new decade, from 2000 to 2010, was designated as the Knowledge Enhancement Decade for Grenada. And it was said that the acquisition of knowledge would be the most effective way of reducing the level of poverty in Grenada. An information and communication technology strategy and action plan was developed. That plan called for, among other things, the development of a comprehensive legal framework that will regulate and facilitate all forms of electronic interaction in the public service, and the implementation of e-government that will enable the provision of all public services online. That was in 2000. In 2005, as part of the Public Sector Modernization Project, the PSMP, it was envisaged that we would have joined up operations or one-stop shops, whereby services targeting the same individuals or with the same objective would be brought together. And within the first 5 years, it was expected that 30% of similar or related services would be joined up. 25% of major service delivery agencies would be offering e-services on a joined-up basis, and there would be online information and e-services available through a single government portal.
Yeah, Gemma, I like how the project was well targeted in terms of quantifiable objectives. But what has been achieved so far in terms of that project?
Very good question, Laurel. We now have a gov.gd portal. We have a number of ministries that have their own websites. And as I think Ryan said on the Facebook, he was able to access IRD, Inland Revenue Department. So a number of ministries do have their own websites and some online services. We have a ministry with responsibility for ICT, and then we have some other limited services like the IRD ones, the application for the passport, filing of tax returns, custom functions through ASICUDA. So there has been some achievements, although limited.
Jim, I just want us to go back to the issue of the e-government and the website, because sometimes it's available, but operationalizing it is a challenge. When Juliet and I were doing the budget, analyzing the budget, we found that the website was deficient in a number of areas. Key documents we could not find on the website, particularly the media fiscal report consistent with the Public Finance Management Act, we couldn't find. The total comprehensive public sector report consistent with the Debt Management Act was not on the website. There was limited data on employment to do a thorough analysis of the employment situation. And then when we look at the fiscal data, it was difficult to analyze, and we found that there was that primary or critical variable, particularly the primary balance before grant, was omitted from the medium-term fiscal framework. So I think along with establishing the portals, the operationalizing of these will need to be paid particular attention to.
Yeah, and Gemma, so in addition, even if we have the portal, as it stands now, we have problems with just the availability of information. And just having the portal is not going to fix that level of transparency that is needed. Because, for example, with the budget, we did not get the whole list of all the debt that we owe. And that was very important in the calculation of the debt to GDP ratio, which was mentioned to be around 55%. But if you include all the debt, then the actual debt to GDP ratio would be around 70%. So it's important not just to have the site, but transparency and making sure that this information is available on the site. And in moving forward, I would like to think that given that we're about to embark on the national health insurance, hopefully we can have the plan released as soon as it's available so we can analyze and debate the plan moving forward. I would just like to give some comments now from the Facebook while we're at it. So Ernesto says, a question for the I3s would be a question for the I3s would it safe to say we have failed budget when the PM goes back to parliamentarian for more monies?
I could answer this. In terms of going back to Parliament for more money, it depends on what. The budget is prepared at the beginning of the year and is an estimate, a forecast. And unforeseen circumstances may arise during the year. If you are going back for unforeseen circumstances, it's okay. But if you are going back for things that should have been taken into consideration at the beginning of the year, then there is a problem. But provisions are made for going back to Parliament to cater for unforeseen circumstances that may not have been taken into consideration at the beginning of the year.
All right, Laura, just hang on a sec here. Let me jump in for a minute. Just before we went on the air this morning, I received a notification from the Clerk of Parliament that in today's sitting of Parliament, a bill is going to come up, and here it is. It's called the 2020 Budget Loan Authorization Bill 2019. An act to authorize the Minister of Finance to borrow from various sources an amount of $100 million Eastern Caribbean dollars, be it enacted by the Queen's Most Excellent Majesty, by and with the advice and consent of the Senate and House of Representatives, and by the authority of the same as follows. Short title. This act may be cited as the 2020 Budget Loan Authorization Act. 2. Authorized to raise loan. The Minister of Finance is hereby authorized to raise a loan in the amount of 100 million Eastern Caribbean dollars for the purpose of financing the 2020 budget. All monies borrowed under this act shall be effected and secured pursuant to the terms and conditions specified in the schedule. The schedule says, type of loan, loans, bonds, or promissory notes. Purpose, to finance the 2020 budget. Currency, Eastern Caribbean dollars or United States dollars. Lenders, International Development Association, International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, Caribbean Development Bank, other companies, banks, and/or financial institutions. Interest rate, to be negotiated. Terms of payment, to be negotiated. Fees, to be negotiated. Tabling of agreements. All agreements signed pursuant to this Loan Authorization Act will be tabled in Parliament as soon as practicable. I would love to hear you, Laurel.
Yes, George, in the budget, in a budget proposal, we have
Laurel,
what we
we're
call
not
the
hearing you
finance.
very well. Try and speak up a little bit.
Yeah, in the budget proposal, we will have a section called the
Okay, I
financing
think you're
component.
having some problems with your microphone there. Let's try again.
You're not hearing me, George?
Okay, that's better now. Go ahead.
Right. In any budget proposal, we have what we call the financing component. And some projects will be financed by grants, and some will be financed by loans. So the request for the loan approval for the budget means that part of the expenditures in the budget for 2020 are being financed by loans. And hence the request for loan approval. So if I could put it like in your fiscal, you have an overall balance. That might be positive, overall surplus. That overall surplus does not include your debt repayments, nor the funds you will receive from loans disbursement. And it is highly possible that you can receive loan disbursements to finance your budget because the overall balance is not totally adequate. And that is why, in terms of the budget proposal, it is necessary to look at the budget in its totality, its revenue, its expenditure, its financing. The financing component will tell you how are you using your overall balance? Are you paying down outstanding debt? Are you borrowing further? Are you putting money in the commercial banks or in other financial institutions? Or will money be sent abroad? And that will give you a comprehensive view of the budget. But it is possible.
Okay, what I'm trying to ascertain here, Laurel, does it come as any surprise to you that so soon after the budget was read, we're getting this request for authorization for $100 million?
No, because it is part of the budget proposal. If it was not part of the budget proposal, it would be a surprise. But since it is part of the budget proposal, we have to ask ourselves, how much of that budget is being financed by grants and how much is being financed by loans? And I could always double check for you, George and audience, but it's once it is part of the budget proposal that was submitted to Parliament, that estimates revenue expenditure, it is not surprising if it was outside the budget proposal.
All right.
And Laurel, I know we had mentioned when we discussed the budget about the primary balance before grants and the primary balance after grants, and the fact that they were using the primary balance after grants to give an indication of the amount of money that we have. And you indicated to us that that was not the correct method to use, and that we should use the primary balance before grants. And if we use that as the accurate method, now using this, would you say that we have any money available based on that analysis that you gave us?
For the 2020 budget, I will say no, I would say it is a tight fiscal situation. When we look at the primary balance before grant, we are getting a primary balance less than 1% of GDP. And this is not adequate to cover our interest payments. So it's a very tight situation fiscally when you use the primary balance before grants. It depends on inflows of grants to be able to achieve the primary balance stated of 6.1% of GDP. But I still want to reiterate for George that once the proposal is part of the budget that was submitted to Parliament, it meant that the government had planned to raise funds to finance part of the budget. And this is because we have to look at the financing component of the budget, which will tell us whether the government intended to receive loans to finance the budget.
George, did that answer your question?
There are a lot of comments there, Janice. I don't want us to get too far behind, so can you take a shot at them?
Okay. So we got to the point, Cassandra says, isn't this the second appropriation bill brought before the Senate? Question from Cassandra Mitchell.
Is it the second?
Isn't this the second appropriation bill brought before the Senate?
We're not certain.
No, I'm not certain. My reading might have been the first appropriation bill for the year.
For the 2020 budget.
Okay.
There may have been supplemental estimates for 2019, but in relation to the 2020 budget, this is the first.
And Gemma, wouldn't you say that it is part of the budgetary proposal appropriation?
It's part of the normal procedure.
Yeah.
Margaret Francis is saying, so I guess in this case, the request for that loan of 100 million was an unforeseen circumstances. Sarcasm intended. This government really think people stupid. And Ryan said, oi. Cassandra Mitchell said there was one tabled in August asking for clarification.
The one in August was a supplementary appropriation bill.
Right. Right. So during the year, if you need additional financing, you do it through the supplementary appropriation bill. This bill is not an additional financing. It is the appropriation bill. There is a plan for the inflows of loan to finance part of the budget.
John is saying, and this is a good fiscal management, really? Mosquito Man, Lenroy, Frederick.
Janice, I don't think this has anything to do with what we're discussing right now. So forget about Mosquito Man and just move on, please.
Okay. Ernesto Jose said, Laurel, wouldn't it supposed to be in the budget readout to the nation?
Yes, it should. For fiscal transparency, it should. And that's why I'm saying that we need comprehensive debt reports so that the citizens could analyze the debt situation. It should have been.
Juliet, Dr. Melville is with us this morning online, and she said that the request for parliamentary approval to borrow is standard practice and is normal. For transparency, the financing section of the budget should be presented with the budget proposal. so one can see how the budget proposals are being financed.
Thank you, Juliet. So we need to look at the financing component to see how the budget is being financed, so it will add clarity to the issue that is being raised.
And John is saying that if I was a businessman, I would be bankrupt if I tried this. If he was a businessman, he would be bankrupt if he tried that.
Okay.
And
you can skip Grenada Broadcast and go on to Cassandra Mitchell.
Okay, Cassandra.
You need to get back to me, Janice.
One more question from Cassandra and we'll get back to you. Cassandra says, what's the status of the Budget Loan Authorization Bill 2019, which authorized the Minister of Finance to borrow an amount not exceeding 118 million from various sources?
Yeah. And that's why, in terms of the 2019 budget, and particularly the reports put on the government website, there is need for a comprehensive analysis of what happened in 2019 before entering into 2020. And hence, in the analyzing the budget, Dr. Melville and myself, we saw the medium-term fiscal framework before going into 2020 forecast should undertake a comprehensive review of what happened in 2019, providing side-by-side data so we could then take 2019 assessment and move into 2020 and the medium term. So we saw that as an area that needed to be further to be included.
Thank you, Laurel. Back to you, Gemma.
Yes, so before we went to all this discussion about the budget and so, we were saying that government's e-government attempt has been in bits and pieces. It has been more transactional than transformational. And therefore, a more radical approach to public sector modernization is needed for the sustainability of the projects announced in the 2020 budget. Meaningful public sector modernization will consist of deliberate changes to the structures and processes of the public service and agencies of the government with the objective of getting them to run better. Structural changes may include merging, aligning, or splitting ministries and organizations based on portfolio business and not the ministerial holder. For example, we have now the Ministry of Health and International Business. There is no synergy there. And for the implementing of the Digital Resilience Project, we will have a Department of Implementation in the Ministry of Infrastructure Development, Public Utilities, Energy, and Transport. We need to determine whether implementation is best suited there or elsewhere. And process changes include redesigning systems, setting quality standards, and focusing on capacity building, outputs, and outcomes. So if we are talking public sector modernization, there must be a... Yes, Laura. Yes,
Gemma, in terms of the issue of output and outcomes, I just want to make an injection here because we have a problem and issue in most of the Caribbean countries, including Grenada, where we focus in budget proposal on input, financial resources and activities to be undertaken, output, which is the project deliverables, and we omit or we do not focus on outcomes. And I can give an example. We intend to strengthen our education system, the curriculum, by including skills training. So we allocate funds and we determine the activities to be undertaken, building skill training centers, training students, training teachers. These are the inputs. The output we will have is the training centers and the trained teachers, the trained students. However, we need to take it a bit further, look at outcomes. If we take the Grenada situation, it appears that given our high level of unemployment, there will be an element of structural unemployment where there is a mismatch between the job requirements and the skills of the labor force. And this is one of the problems the skills training is expected to address. Therefore, in looking at outcomes, we need quantifiable indicators as to how this structural gap is being corrected. And this will require comprehensive labor force information. So in transforming the economy, we need to focus on outcomes, and to do so, we need comprehensive data.
That's very relevant, Laurel. And if you look back at the 2005 Public Sector Modernization document, it showed that effective change cannot be one-dimensional, and that we must have change to the models of governance, to the structure and staffing, and the processes. So transformational e-government, as announced by the government, transformational e-government requires that government not only announce projects. Government need to confront the outdated legislation in the public service and public sector organizations, which focus on control rather than facilitation. The highly bureaucratic public sector organization with its institutional silos, which sometimes inhibits innovation and critical thinking. The constant changes to the structure of ministries and departments based on exigencies of the government, the portfolio of ministers, and which sometimes ignore the synergies among ministries and departments. The lack or non-existence of clear policies and procedural guidelines. The outdated management system lacking in transparency and accountability, and the absence of comprehensive data and citizen-friendly information. And as indicated in the 2020 budget speech, the need to strengthen capacity. Implementing these piecemeal funded projects as announced in the 2020 budget speech will not modernize the public service, but a radical reorientation of the public service and the public sector over the next few years is necessary if we want to truly set our course on developing a modernized public service. In our next edition of Fiscal Alert, I will continue to examine public sector. Yes?
Okay, before you talk about the next edition, we have a comment from Ernesto, and he said, I think transparency is the key word here, and our administration is just not. And Ryan saying controlling borrowing is crucial. Borrowing an amount not exceeding 118.8 million has to be paid back. You want to comment on that, Laurel?
Yes. And borrowing, and Dr. Melville mentioned it last week, you have to take into consideration in borrowing, and that's why you have the technical staff of the ministry to advise, to do an analysis to determine your capacity to pay and where the funds will be spent. It should be spent in areas that will improve your productive capacity. And before borrowing, analysis should be undertaken to ensure that the country will have the capacity to pay that debt along with other outstanding debt when the payments become due.
Thank you, Laurel. Otto Langain is saying wonderful show this morning and also yesterday. Ryan says touche. Ernesto says, how can our budget match up with our national debt if we don't know it? Because we have.
That's why we are paying for providing, and we provide information on comprehensive public sector debt report, and the Debt Management Act stipulates that a comprehensive, and it gives you the detail of what should be included in that report. That report should be presented to Parliament at the time of the presentation of the estimates of revenue and expenditure. And this document is what could be examined when presented to Parliament, so we could have a total appreciation of the total public sector debt situation.
And I think, Laura, that it's safe to say that there's still time for them to put it on gov.gd
There's always time.
It's always time to put it up. Hopefully
yeah.
we can get that by next week or so. All right, so Cassandra is saying, how can a parliament give authority to the Minister of Finance to incur a debt of 118.8 million without any information being proffered about interest, repayment, etc., and the agreement pertinent to said loan in the 2019 loan authorization bill? And now they're tabling a similar bill again. We need that information, as we the people are the ones to pay it back. Again, transparency, they need to give the information, put it on gov.gd so we can access it, we can debate it, and we can give our input.
And that is where this whole transformational e-government comes in. So it's not just the Peace project, because we have gov.gd. We can look for national capacity to improve on gov.gd and to make more information available to the public in a more transparent manner.
And also, transparent will include in a manner that the citizens could understand easily.
Ladies, let me jump in here for a minute. You know, as I sit here listening to you, I'm thinking back to some of your previous programs and also other programs we've done on this platform where there seems to be a scarcity. I can't think of any other word to describe it, but a scarcity of the information that the general public needs to know. Are we in agreement there that we're just not being told everything that we need to know?
Yes, that is correct.
We are not.
Yes, John. It's not comprehensive, and then being not comprehensive, and then you have to assess numerous documents outside the government website in order to make an analysis of what is happening.
And even when the information is available, sometimes it's not available in a form where the average person can read it and understand. And I believe that's the case for the Citizenship by Investment program. And Laura, you might be able to tell us more about that.
In doing our analysis, we try to see where we are with the Citizenship by Investment program. There is information on the website, but we thought in terms of the interpretation, it was difficult, and hence we did not include it in our discussion because we wanted to be accurate in terms of our presentation. So it had to be more, is accessible in terms of understanding what is the message that is being sent. The message should be crisp so that we're able to pick it up.
You know, Janice, you raised a very important... I'm sorry, Gemma. Janice, you raised a very important point there a minute ago.
I'm sorry, George?
I said you raised a very important point, that sometimes when the information is disseminated, it's not done in such a way that people really get a grasp and understand.
Yeah.
And Janice...
People who do not have economic background like, ourselves.
Right, like us.
Need to be able to read it, need to be able to read it and understand and get a picture of what it is they say.
And Janice, it's not just in terms of economics. It happens so frequently within the government service regarding a lot of other things like climate change, like health and what have you. And sometimes I ask myself this question: are these people on a mission to make sure that we do not understand what the heck is going on? Maybe I'm cynical. But after all these years, you get that way.
Mm-hmm.
These gray hairs didn't just come by chance.
You earned them.
I earned them. Anyway.
And so I think that's why the important, even if it's complicated, they have to put it out there so we can get people with the background who can look at it and maybe on a program like this, debate it.
Yeah, exactly.
So the rest of the what is it?
I just want to share one comment here from Kipling. He says, anyone who doesn't understand and learn from this program just doesn't want to improve. So simple and enlightening. Thank you, sisters, and thanks, Mr. Grant, for finding them. That's what is called love of country. Well, Kipling, to be very honest with you, you know, I got to be straight up. I didn't find them. They found me. These are what you're watching is their initiative. Believe me, let credit go where credit is due. These people are so committed to their country, they decided, hey, rather than sit around and yak, criticize, let me see what I could do to help. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, John.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. And Joy, continue to join us because knowledge is power and experience is our greatest teacher. Join us next week.
Okay, there you have it, the Bain sisters. Boy, I can't, look at those smiles. Take one look at those smiles before you do it. Thanks a lot, ladies.
Bye, have a good day.
George.
Take care.
Why wish upon a star? For a bank is better by far. Whatever you're wishing for this Christmas, we'll give you low interest and no fuss.
Co-op Bank is making Christmas wishes come true. Fix up your home, treat your loved ones, and get everything on your Christmas list this year with our no-fuss loans. As we count down the 12 days to Christmas, you can win awesome prizes every day. Special terms and conditions apply.
Christmas wishes come true with Co-op Bank and you.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Why wish upon a star? For a bank is better by far. Whatever you're wishing for this Christmas, we'll give you low interest and no fuss.
Co-op Bank is making Christmas wishes come true. Fix up your home, treat your loved ones, and get everything on your Christmas list this year with our no-fuss loans. As we count down the 12 days to Christmas, you can win awesome prizes every day. Special terms and conditions apply.
Christmas wishes come true with Co-op Bank and you.
Folks, just before we go, I want to digress here for a minute or two. Before these ladies came on, we were talking about the Al Jazeera documentary. And there were a couple of comments that were made. I didn't share them with you because I was anxious. I had kept these ladies waiting long enough, and I didn't want to keep them waiting any longer. So I decided, hey, move on, and we'll read them at the end of the program. I want to share these two comments with you. First of all, Ernesto said, how come Dr. Mitchell is not suing Al Jazeera after his strong denial of the investigation? That meant there is some truth to the investigation, diplomats for sale. That was Ernesto, okay? Well, our friend Margaret responded. Margaret says, I wish you would sue them, because that means there will be discovery. And the full extent of his corruption and the amount of money he and his cohorts pocketed will be made known. Margaret obviously understands the legal process. I hadn't thought about that. Thanks for asking the question, Ernesto. Thanks for the response, Mags. Pilgrims, we're going to have to get our little act together here and start relocating time slots, because we are now an hour and 40 minutes into this program, which was supposed to run only 40 minutes, but you ain't complaining from what I see there. You guys really enjoyed and benefited from what you saw. So, with a parting word from the Holy Scriptures, we will depart. Psalm 20, and this is my prayer for you. Psalm 20, verses 1 to 5. May the Lord answer you when you're in distress. May the name of God, the God of Jacob, protect you. May he send you help from the sanctuary and grant you support from Zion. May he remember all of your sacrifices and accept your burnt offerings. May he give you the desire of your heart and make all of your plans succeed. May we shout for joy over your victory and lift up our banners in the name of our God. May the Lord grant all your requests. It's my prayer for you. That's my way of saying thank you for making this platform what it is. That reading, by the way, Psalm 20, verses 1 to 5. Okay, quick note here, quick note here. Sonia says, thanks again, very informative program. Gemma is thanking you guys for viewing and your input. John is asking donations in US or EC. John, as far as I know, PayPal accepts the US currency. Joan Wellington saying amen, thank you. I guess Joan's referring to that passage we just read there. Bill Graham, Zoe. Oh, I loved it, I loved it, I loved it. And I love you. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 9.